Just waiting. I think we're live. What's going on, guys? This is PnC Dynasty, episode 10. The big 1-0, episode 10. We are going to be talking about week 2 matchups today. And it's going to be an interesting week. We got a lot of close matchups, I believe, but also some that could be totally lopsided and one-sided. But very important matchups. And we rarely got any news that came coming into this week. Josh Jacobs might be out. Who really knows? We did receive news that he was sidelined, I believe, today in practice, or had a lighter practice. And also, Evan Ingram is out once again. So will that even help that Giants defense? We don't really know. But what are you guys feeling about the news this week coming into, week 2?
Yeah, Josh Jacobs never practices on Wednesday. It's an annual, weekly tradition at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, nothing major here.
Right.
Evan Ingram, he hasn't really been relevant in quite some time. So
Odell Beckham's out. That is kind of interesting that they already ruled him out when he was a game time decision last Sunday. I don't know if it's the coach trying to take it out of Odell's hands or not, or if he suffered a little bit of a setback. But that did kind of catch me off guard. I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah, that's going to be an interesting play for the Browns, especially who are they going to throw to? You got Landry and their tight ends, but
yeah,
I don't know. That would be interesting. Maybe running backs Chubb and Hunt will be utilized more this week.
David Njoku's season.
No.
Don't tell that to Hodge.
yeah, he'll be selling them for 2 first. But yeah, very light week. I feel like this has been very light with injuries this year in the beginning of the season, which I love. I'm not not trying to jinx anything, but I think the NFL is getting, or the players are maybe staying healthier for a little longer, which is a positive note. And nothing too crazy is happening with movements and people sitting out for practice, which is, I guess less for us to talk about, but it's also good news for the NFL and the players. So kind of jumping straight into it, we're going to do a breakdown of our matchups while also going over the players that were starting and their matchups, because we want to also provide you guys with information to help you start and help you build your team. So Smith, do you want to take it off with kind of going over your matchup this week? I feel like it's an important one. You are up against the reigning champion, up against week 1's top scorer, which I believe was the second highest score we've ever had in this Dynasty League.
Yeah.
Third
highest score. So let's hear it.
Yeah. So I don't want to say something's a must win in week 2, but we did go 0-2. But like I said, we were DeAndre Swift and normal Aaron Rodgers away from going 2-0. So I'm hoping that we can go 2-0 in this week and get back to 2-2. But if we go 0-4, it's not looking pretty. And
the young boys are not looking good.
Yeah, it not looking good if we go 0-4. So we have to get at least one win. If it's against Pete, great. If it's against the median, so be it. But Pete comes in red hot. He's got Wilson, who was great last week. He has Darrell Henderson, who was buoyed by a touchdown and got some good usage. Darren Waller, obviously fantastic on his team. He's got DeAndre Hopkins and Justin Jefferson, the Washington football team defense. He's very good in the wide receiver and tight end groups and the quarterbacks as well. Can't complain about that. Mm-hmm. I think with Aaron Rodgers going against Detroit and Wilson going against Tennessee, I think those two can be a bit of a wash. Maybe a little bit of advantage to Wilson, but I think it'll be almost like a net neutral if Rodgers gets back to form, which I think will happen. He didn't have a preseason, and it's Aaron Rodgers. I'm not discounting him.
Discount
I think
double check?
I knew that was coming. I think the running backs are very, very clearly in my favor here. I've got Mixon and DeAndre Swift and Damian Harris, and he's got Darrell Henderson and Mike Davis. I don't really think I need to comment more on that. Where he does have me beat is the wide receivers. He's got two of the best in the game, two top 10 options in Hopkins and Jefferson. You know, Hopkins is still a baller. That was confirmed. Justin Jefferson. I don't know if I'm worried about Adam Thielen. He had a good week, don't get me wrong, but a lot of his production was buoyed off of 2 touchdowns, and I don't know how sticky that is week by week. So I think Jefferson can actually get back to being a wide receiver 1. My wide receivers, they're high upside but high risk, right? We have Higgins and Claypool, Cortland Sutton, who's going to be the wide receiver 1 with Jerry Jeudy out. So, I think because I have the clear advantage at running back, he has the clear advantage at wide receiver, and it's a wash at QB and defense, special teams, and kickers. It's going to really come down to the tight end, I feel like. Is Waller or Hawkinson going to be the better play? And for as good as Hawkinson was, Waller was that much better just because he got peppered with targets. Now, is Darren Waller going to get as many targets as he got in week 1? I don't think so, but I'm not going to put it past John Gruden because it is John Gruden. But Hawkinson, Swift, and Jamal Williams will be the top 3 targets for Jared Goff, who loves to go short and dump it off. So whoever wins the tight end matchup between Waller and Hawkinson, I think will win this matchup. Sleeper has Pete projected to win by a few. Fantasy Pros has me projected to win by about 5 points. So it could really go either way, in my opinion, and it depends on how our tight ends do. That kind of determines this game for us.
Yeah. Awesome. I mean, I'm really looking forward to your running backs this year. Damian Harris has a very important matchup against the Jets. He's going to get 20 touches probably, but I feel like if he fumbles, it may hurt him. I mean, they already commented on his fumble in week 1, which is like weird to say to one of your main running backs, like, to say you're not confident in him after fumbling once or something like that. But I mean, against the Jets, it could be a good game. It could also just be a low-scoring game because it's 2 rookie quarterbacks going up against each other, and they're just going to wing it out. So, once again, you're going up against the highest-scoring team and the champion, and a team that finds a way to win. So I wish you luck.
It's a good way to put it.
I wish you luck with this one, and I hope you don't go 0-4 to start.
So what do you think, Vinny?
Who do I think is winning? I think Pete's winning.
Yeah.
But that's fine. You have to ride the hot hand. You have to ride the hot hand until he's not hot anymore. And right now he's hot. So
yeah.
I agree with
I tried telling you guys.
I mean, I wasn't doubting him really for a second. I knew
he got 50 points from Sterling Shepard and Jamal Williams.
Hey,
okay,
you never know.
Let's not get ahead of ourselves.
Hey, that was great management. I'm sure his IQ score for the
management,
week was probably
but can't rely on that every week.
His IQ is definitely up for management, and I respect it. So moving forward here, I'm gonna go over Derek and Badger's matchup just because they both are right in front of me, or right in front of you guys. And instead of just having one person describe it, we're kind of going to go over the overview and then have both of them say how they feel about their teams and their players that are going on. So right now, Derek is projected to win 164 to 142, according to Sleeper. They're giving Derek a 78% chance to win here. Do I think it's accurate? I think it's a little I think it's overrated in the sense of I don't think he has a 78% chance. I think that's a little high against Badgers team. But I do think he does have the upper hand overall with his solid core that he does have. The QB matchup, I believe favors Badger here with Josh Allen.
It better.
That's true. Going, as a Bills fan, it's probably rough to have to root for Josh Allen, but also root against him at the same time. But Badger, how do you feeling about Barkley and starting him with a question mark against Washington's front line that will absolutely destroy the Giants line?
Well, the good news is he's the first game of the week. So if I don't think that he's going to do great or something pops up tomorrow, can easily replace him. But if he plays, I have absolutely no choice but to play him because of the potential upside. I think that you're right, that they're probably going to get eaten alive, the offensive line, but he still is Saquon Barkley. They're going to have to eventually give him more touches, throw him the ball more, and this could be a good opportunity for him to catch the ball in the backfield since Danny Dimes probably isn't going to have that much time. Throw him out there, and hopefully he gets 5 or 6 catches. But same thing as last week. I'm just hoping for that 10 to 15 point range, but it didn't happen last week. So we'll see. We'll see what the report is tomorrow on him going into game time. Then I can swap if needed. But if he's going to play, I got to play him.
Yeah. And you're starting Javonte Williams. Obviously, I think that's a more of a reaction kind of start because we got news that Rojo is going to be starting and Leonard Fournette will, I guess, be the backup or the second man in. I don't know how they're going to do it, what's going to happen. They are playing Atlanta, so that's an interesting take. But you also have Javonte Williams against Jacksonville. So, I respect it just because you don't know what Bruce Arians is going to do when he says he's starting Rojo, so you can't really trust Fournette right now, but I think Williams would be a solid play, and the upside with Williams against Jacksonville can be a solid 15 to 20 points if he takes over. But Melvin Gordon did have a great first game.
Yeah, but I played Melvin Gordon last week, full disclosure, but he had a 70-yard run for a touchdown. Yeah. Outside of that, he has 30 yards on the day. Right. Javonte Williams out-touches him.
Yeah.
And we saw what Houston did on the ground against Jacksonville last week with an aging Mark Ingram and David Johnson.
Yeah.
So if Javonte Williams gets, 15 touches, I don't see how he doesn't exceed 70 or 80 yards this week.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting take. And then over on Derek, to go over the next three, he's got Baker Mayfield against Houston. After seeing what Trevor Lawrence did, I definitely am confident that Baker Mayfield can actually put up over 20 points on the Houston's team. And with seeing Tyrod Taylor play the way he did, obviously it was against the Jaguars, and the Browns are a better defense. But if he keeps that momentum, it may be a little higher scoring game, causing Mayfield, to toss more, which is even better for you, Derek. Unfortunately, going up against Josh Allen, I don't think that would be tough to beat.
Yeah.
But I think the main key points here are your running backs, because you do have Miles Sanders questionable. I don't know why he's questionable, but he does have a tougher matchup against the San Francisco 49ers. And he was only able to put up a decent amount of yards. He was able to do 74 yards on the ground against Atlanta, but it also is Atlanta. So having, Sanders and Edmonds, kind of go us through that. Are you worried? Are you looking forward? What are you looking at?
I really gotta say that I'm comfortable with the floor that these two backs provide, just because they're on offenses that like to target the running back.
Yeah.
And if that's going to provide a floor of around 8 points a week from 4 catches and some yak, then I definitely am comfortable with the running backs in general. There's a little bit of hope that, you get one score, and I did get that one score last week. So, my running backs put up over 30 points last week, and that's kind of all I'm looking for on my team, because my team is built around PPR and the dual tight end strategy. So,
yeah.
Honestly, I expect to I don't usually expect to beat somebody else's running backs on a week-to-week basis. However, I think this week, there's
a good chance. I
think there's a good chance that Badgers running backs don't score a lot of points, and mine don't as well. Mine are going against 2 stout defensive lines and front sevens. So I really am looking for a lot of targets to help me out this week, because I don't think they really get it done on the ground. Although Miles Sanders did have 5 yards per carry, I think he looked decent. So I'm really hoping for duds on Badgers side rather than upside on my side.
I think this matchup really comes down to the running backs, because your wide receivers on both ends are high end. You got Adam Thielen against Arizona. That defense is very good, but it's gonna be a nice. I think that Arizona's defense, I think, is pretty solid. Like that Chandler Jones got 5 sacks. Just saying. So
You're right.
but Adam Thielen and AJ Brown have pretty solid matchups. Are going to be in a shootout with the ball being thrown, and then you have CeeDee Lamb and Terry McLaurin on Derek's side, who once again there's going to be the ball throwing. And Terry McLaurin is kind of a question mark against the Giants because he does have top.
Heineke.
He does have Heineke, and it's the Giants' defense, which is pretty decent. It might be a low-scoring game because of the backup quarterback, so that would be an interesting play. He will be an important part, but it really comes down to the flex and the tight ends here. Both of you guys are starting 2 tight ends. We have Mark Andrews and Kmet on Badgers' end, and then you have Travis Kelce and Kyle Pitts on Derek's end.
Ooh, I didn't even see Kmet there.
So having both of those
He's a
starts,
starter now.
Obviously, right off the name, you're going to take Travis Kelce and Kyle Pitts just because of Travis Kelce is on that side. And it's going to be interesting. I mean, Kyle Pitts is up against an insane defense, so who really knows what will happen on that end? But I do believe that
the Cowboys were able to utilize 2 tight ends pretty well against Tampa Bay last week. So I would expect Atlanta needs to throw the ball just as much as Dallas did to even have a chance.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I did a little bit of analysis, and we'll get into that later when I talk about Kyle Pitts. However, just in general, I think we know that Tampa Bay's defense is extremely good at stopping the run, but all those big-bodied front 7 guys kind of do hand out a few extra receptions than normal to tight ends in particular. So, I'm hopeful. However, it is a great defense they're going against. And, there's really 2 main weapons on the Falcons offense to take care of. So they could definitely focus in on him and just stick maybe Winfield over on Ridley. So we'll see. And just on Travis Kelce, it's Travis Kelce, but this is a primetime game against a top AFC opponent. So I think he's just going to get absolutely littered with targets. So I'm hoping for like a 30-point game.
Yeah. And I think for you, Derek, in order for you to maybe take this away, Devontae Adams needs to go off, and Detroit is the perfect game to have that happen. So,
no Jeff Okudah.
So
it should be too easy for Devontae.
So Devontae Adams should be over his 22 point projection, and that could take you over the points median and help you go 2-0 this week. But how do you guys feel? I mean, Badger, you are the underdog in this scenario. I feel like you will be the underdog in most matchups this year, just based on how Sleeper is projecting you and how your team is built. So how do you feel going into this week?
Well, I think this week I just need to find a way to win the league median, which is not looking great either. And you're right. I think I'll be the underdog in most matchups, but it's, if Saquon, by like week 7 is 100%, I don't see how he's still projected that low of points. Then his ceiling or his floor probably goes more closer to 15 points. And then if we're expecting Javonte Williams to actually take over the backfield by midseason, I think that he's a 12 to 15 point guy as well. The biggest question mark, I think for me, is Mark Andrews. He's been spotty the past 2 years. He has a great game, one game, and then is a dud. But we talked about it yesterday. I think Lamar's going to target him more. They're going to watch that film and see how many times he was actually wide open when Lamar made some questionable throws to other players. So, and then Cole Kmet. I'm taking a flyer on him this week. I think he rightfully deserves a spot in my lineup. If Dallas Goedert didn't catch that touchdown, he would have been a dud against Cincinnati. And Kmet got 7 targets last week, but we'll see if that volume can keep up, and maybe they'll keep Jimmy Graham on the bench in the red zone.
Agreed.
If I'm lucky.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Badger, good luck. I don't know if you'll win, but I think you can maybe get lucky. It obviously would be wild to see you go maybe 3-1, like 1-1 this week.
I would take that.
That would be pretty sick. So we do have Thanos, which is Chris, versus depressed Marshmallow, which is Dan. Who wants to break that matchup up for Dan and Chris
Yeah,
here?
I'll take it.
I can take that since I played poor Dan last week. Um, Listen, it's the same situation. I feel like what I talked about. Obviously, I think Chris's team is a bit better than mine, so he clearly has a larger advantage than I did. But it looks like Dan has Mark Ingram in his starting lineup this week, which is quite interesting in my opinion.
God
But
bless.
I guess he doesn't have another running back. It appears
Uh,
so. Good luck to him. With that, I don't know if you're going to get the same production you got against Jacksonville.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, overall, I mean, it's hard not to. Chris's team, he has top 15 players in virtually all the skill positions.
Yep.
And yeah, I think you're maybe gonna get the same thing from Antonio Brown, but he's only projected 15 this week. Godwin's projected 17, but still clearly give every advantage, I would say, to Chris's team. I don't know if anybody has more comments, but 155 to 132 is the projection, so 79% of a probability based on sleeper projections, which is the most this week.
Yes, that is a fact. I think a key matchup for Chris is Lamar Jackson against KC. Lamar Jackson could get a lot of rushing yards against KC because they don't really like to defend the run. So that's going to be a key matchup. I also believe that him starting Aguilar against the Jets is another key matchup on his flex. Aguilar did see 7 targets week 1 against Miami. So plugging him in at the flex position, it is his only option, or one of his few options that he has. So that will be another key point and also could help him or really hurt him in getting that points for median, which he missed out on in the first week.
Yeah, I was surprised just on that. I was surprised he's not taking a flyer on Randall Moore this week against Mini. They didn't look, their defense looked pretty awful. And Randall Moore, I know Sleeper doesn't have the snap counts, but he was out there for, I think, like 80% of the plays.
Yeah.
So I would look to that, but Jalen Waddle makes sense to me on the bench with Will Fuller coming back this week. So Miami has a lot more capability to throw down the field, I feel like, with Will Fuller now.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I'm favoring Chris in this matchup. I think a lot of people will be, just as we see Dan as the worst team in our league. In terms of just like his team is just weak. Obviously, he has a lot of draft capital, but his team is just not putting up the points that it should be to compete against the teams that we have. So this could be a 2-0 week for Chris if he can beat that median, and that would be a huge step. But if he doesn't make that median, he may be upset and yell at me again for adding that rule. But moving on to the next matchup, we do have Andy versus Parker. So we have Parker coming off one of the craziest wins that we've ever experienced against Derek here. And we have Andy coming off, once again, another just expected performance from his team at this point, because we've seen it happen all year last year, and we watched it happen in week 1. So, Derek, do you want to take over this matchup between Andy and Parker?
Yeah, absolutely. So, right off the bat, not only do you have a much higher quality quarterback on Andy's side, but he's playing Atlanta. Teddy Bridgewater is playing Jacksonville, but, I think we know who the edge goes to there.
Yeah.
So, in terms of running backs, I actually am a little worried about that, Arizona defensive line. Obviously not only great skill on the edges, but two veterans who know how to play the run. So you could be worried about Cook's performance, and Jonathan Taylor, a little bit of the same. I think it's kind of fair to say that the Rams would be able to stop the run just as the Cardinals would. So I think you kind of are looking at a wash at the running back one position. And then Antonio Gibson probably sees more targets than Najee, although, Najee did have that 100% snap count, which is crazy.
Yeah.
The
So
only running back to do that, by the way.
And
Yeah, I mean-
still put up nothing.
yeah, the Bills' defensive line definitely, stood up to the challenge, but it's not like they handed him the ball 30 times. I think he
it's only
probably would
16.
have broken a couple loose. However, the game plan definitely worked for Pittsburgh. So I don't think they're going to overload the run game, with those wide receivers that they have. So I would definitely give the edge to Andy's running backs, although that's a very slight edge and anything could happen. Although that's totally pointless to say. And moving on to the wide receivers. Well, I think it's definitely not only fair but correct to say that you should have more confidence and a better floor for Coop plus Cup, over Johnson and Chase. I think that's pretty obvious. I think if you were to go, actually, no. If you were to go off of who scored more last week,
Andy's.
Cooper lopsides it, completely. However, Jamar Chase did look really good and did have really great production and efficiency. So
For a guy that can't catch the ball.
Yeah, you can't see the ball either.
Yeah.
I think, and it's not crazy to say on a week-to-week basis, I think you could see some regression from Jamar Chase there, just because he caught, I think, every single one of his targets except for maybe one. And Deontay Johnson also had a touchdown last week. So obviously I have to address Amari Cooper in that same sentence, and just say that I'm sure he's going to come back down to earth after that crazy
16
week one.
target week one.
And it's against a formidable secondary, but I do think the secondary in LA for the Chargers is very comparable, and especially with the safeties that they have, I think they can bracket Cooper really well if they decide to. And the only reason I say that is because Gallup is going to be out, so they don't have their 1-2-3 punch, and just have to focus on the two studs. So Cooper could be quiet if they focus on him, and Kupp is going against another good secondary and defense in general. If I had to choose, I'm going to go with Andy's side, but I think it's closer than it seems, even though you have two, veterans that are pretty much guaranteed to see a good share of targets, and obviously did last week.
Yeah.
Now, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to add into Andy's team too. I'm surprised he's starting Will Fuller over Devontae Smith, and I want you to touch on that, Derek, because that's something that stands out to me.
Yeah. That could just be Andy seeing Will Fuller's name in the news. I don't know why he wouldn't be high on Devonta, after he looked like Devonta in week one. He was playing a pretty crappy defense, so maybe that's factoring into his decision making. Maybe he thinks the Bills secondary isn't good, but obviously we know that they're pretty decent and are pretty much all really good veterans. So I don't know why you would choose Will Fuller in this situation. To be honest, I need to check. Well, maybe he's scared of San Francisco, but just with being the clear cut number one in terms of targets, and Jalen Hurts looking really phenomenal relative to his season last year. I would definitely go with Smith. I think Andy, if you're listening, we just helped you out there. However, follow your heart.
For the second week in a row, we are giving you a recommendation, Andy.
Yeah.
Free advice, Andy. Free advice.
Free advice to win you the league.
That being said, I think he still would have beat Ryan had he started Dak. So
Oh yeah, there wasn't much difference
maybe
there.
temper it, but it was a great call, and Tom Brady absolutely not only lit up the fantasy scoreboard, but just looked so good.
Yeah.
And sexy. So moving on to the flexes, because obviously we can skip tight end. I won't say lone star, because to be honest,
I mean, George Kittle.
Parker's team.
Wait,
Parker's team has a lot of star
go over the
power.
tight ends.
George Kittle.
I'll go over the tight ends. The tight end matchup. Okay, tight end matchup. George Kittle, Tyler Higbee.
Yeah.
George Kittle is a big three tight end. So basically, on any week, whether or not you're playing a good defense or a bad defense, or your opponent's tight end is playing a good or bad defense, I'm going to take George Kittle over anybody that's not Travis Kelce or Darren Waller. So, off the bat, edge goes to Kittle. However, you know what? I'm going to stop myself there. He's playing a worse defense, and a defense that doesn't have any linebackers that I can name. So if you're trying to cover George Kittle with one linebacker, he's going to absolutely torch you all day.
Yeah.
Unless they're game planning for him, I don't see Tyler Higbee having a better game against Indy, especially in Indy. That could, if it's close, that could definitely be the difference. The fact that they're playing a good defense versus a bad defense in Kittle's matchup.
Can I just give my hot take for this one matchup, and then I'll shut up? I think Higbee outscores Kittle this week. That's my hot take, yeah. Tyler Higbee, number 5 tight ends in yards per target, number 4 in yards per route run, number 4 in yards per reception amongst tight ends, number 5 in true catch rate, and number 3 in yards after catch. I mean, this guy is going to be a monster with Matt Stafford. That's my opinion.
Also, the number 4 option on the team, but yeah.
You can still be highly productive. Getting 6 targets with Matt Stafford as your tight end, as your quarterback, excuse me, I think is really good. And Gerald Everett scored against the Colts, and I mean, I like Gerald Everett, but I think Tyler Higbee's a better tight end.
Yeah.
So,
I mean,
I think that's my hot take. Like, that might actually be not in Andy's favor.
Yeah. However, George Kittle, who should see the most targets on the team, going up against a Philadelphia secondary in comparison to, the secondary in Indy, and their first home game, I think. Or did they play the Seahawks at home last week? I think it'd be crazy. I won't say any mean words, but I think it'd be lofty to bet Tyler Higbee over George Kittle. So
yeah, okay,
yeah.
Now that we spent like 7 minutes talking about how George Kittle is going to have a better game than Tyler Higbee, we can move to the flex. I'm a big Mike Williams guy. He had 12 targets I'm seeing right now. I knew he had a good game, but 12 targets is certainly what you want to see from Mike Williams, and just staying healthy is what you want to see as well. And then on the other side, Jamison Crowder, I talk about targets a lot, and he should. Is he out this week because of COVID still?
No, he's back. He's
Or is he
back.
going to play? Okay. So, he's another target guy. So, he could have a good game and a better game than Mike Williams on any given week, but I'm going to go Mike Williams here. I think the secondary is stout in New England and not so stout in Dallas, although they have one good cornerback in Trayvon Diggs, but I don't think he'll be covering Mike Williams all day. Mm-hmm. Moving on, Will Fuller versus Laviska. I'm just going to give it to Laviska because I'm not going to put any bad juju on the Bills. And it could definitely be considered a toss-up. And then we're not going to talk about anything else on the team. That's it.
So
now,
what are you thinking? Who's winning? Who's taking is it closer than you think?
I think if there's a surprise in the running back department, you could see Parker pull out a win, or you could see Andy fall below the league median. But I'm taking Andy all day here. I mean, we just went down the list, and pretty much everyone was favored on Andy's team.
I agree. And I think at the end, if we do have time, I do want to start taking a toll between all of us. And we're going to go through each matchup, and whoever has a better record, I don't know, maybe we'll do a little dinner or something.
We should make our picks.
Yeah, let's do it.
But going into the last matchup, right, because Smith, you went over yours, correct?
Yes.
So last matchup is myself versus Leo, who Leo did go 2-0 last week, and myself, I went 0-2, scoring the least amount of points. So I guess I'm due to not score the least amount of points again, but maybe I could do that.
Maybe your team just sucks.
It very well could actually. So
calling the kettle black.
So right away, Sleeper's just projecting me to beat. I have a 79% chance of winning with 167 points versus 141. Do I think that's real? No, not at all. I don't think I have a 79% chance of winning until I actually see myself winning because I'm 0-2, so I can't give myself 79%. Right away, going over the QB matchup, I think Leo has the upper hand unless I play Justin Fields, not Justin Fields, Jalen Hurts, but I don't know about that matchup yet. I'm still deciding between those two, but Kyler Murray is going to do what Kyler Murray does, and he's going to score high 20s, low 30s this week. I do have favorable matchups in terms of my running backs. I've got Kamara against Carolina and Eckler against Dallas, who hopefully can actually do and put up more points. I mean, Kamara was actually productive. I do think I have the upper hand. Leo got hurt with injuries and losing players, so he's got Tyson Williams as his RB2. So right away I have the upper hand with Kamara and Eckler starting. And then
especially with the news coming out for Harbaugh saying they're going to use every running back that they have now too.
Yeah,
and Tyson Williams wasn't in there in crunch time. He missed a big block. Latavius Murray, that's his backfield, I think.
I think
very soon.
I agree. I think Latavius Murray will take over that backfield. He's bigger. I think he has more experience. He's still. I mean, maybe he's a little slow, but he's going to take the goal line. And he might.
When you got Lamar Jackson at QB, you automatically play faster.
Yeah. So yeah, that's true. He also has Lamar Jackson taking over. So I think I have the upper hand right away with that. I think that hurts Leo's team right off the bat, having to bank on Williams to produce RB2 numbers. And when it comes to wide receivers, he's got a really tough matchup for Ridley this week against Tampa Bay, so that gives me the upper hand, I believe. But I have the upper hand with Allen Robinson against Cincinnati. I did not start Allen Robinson last week because he was up against the Rams, and that hurt me by 2 points because the person I started him over got 5 points or whatever it is. But that really doesn't matter. I think I have the upper hand with DK Metcalf at Tennessee and Allen Robinson against Cincinnati. I think both of them are going to have really solid games. I could see probably 15 points from both of them. I don't think maybe more would be nice, but I think 15 points from both would be a solid play. He's got Jarvis Landry and Calvin Ridley. Ridley's really not going to do much, but Jarvis Landry could easily pick up the slack, especially not with Odell out and against the Houston defense. So Jarvis Landry could actually put up high 20s and take up the slack that Ridley lost for him. And then when it comes to tight ends, I think I have the upper hand. I feel like I have the upper hand. But at any point when Aaron Rodgers plays, Tunyon can go off for like 2 touchdowns and like 5-6 receptions. So I'm going to keep that as like a wash, where it also will benefit, contribute to who does the best in the matchup. He has Corey Davis against New England. I'm kind of nervous about that because Corey Davis is a freak this year. I think a lot of us on this panel believe that Corey Davis is going to be someone to look out for every single week, and someone that you actually have to start almost every week, no matter the matchup.
He is matchup proof.
So Corey Davis is an instant start, and if you really want to match it up, he's going against my Derrick Henry, I guess, or Eckler, however you want to see it. But I got Derrick Henry and Julio Jones as well to finish off, and he has Corey Davis and Robbie Anderson. Do I feel like I have the upper hand with the names on the paper? Of course I feel like I have the upper hand. But the way that Derrick Henry produced against the Arizona Arizona defense, and with 17 touches, 58 yards, I don't know what to expect against Seattle. I'm hoping that he does more against that defense. And Julio Jones right now is in there, but he could easily be replaced because I don't know what to expect from him. And I don't think I can start him unless I know what I'm getting from him. But my other play would be James Robinson, and I think that's the same boat. So I think it's just a guessing game at this point unless I make a weird decision and start Christian Kirk or DJ Chark. But all in all, I think I have the upper hand based on my names and projections. But like we've seen in week 1, I scored 107 points with those names and those projections. So I can't say I'm going to win, but I feel like I deserve it, maybe. But at this point, fantasy doesn't like me, but I'm going to say I'm going to win. I don't think I have a 79% chance of winning. I think I have more of like a 62% chance of winning. Because Kyler Murray could pick up the slack for the players that are weak on Leo's team this week. And it's going to be interesting. I'm hoping I need to go 2-0 just to make myself feel happy and not sad. But I just hope I win. I mean, that's really how it is. So that is our matchups and the players that we are expecting to see go off and hope that go off in the matchup proof, and who will do well against their matchups, who really is the question marks. And moving forward, we are going to go over the same questions that we may do each and every week on a Wednesday. And the first one's really going to be like which matchup we're really looking forward to. We really have 2 main matchups. We have Smith versus Pete and Ryan Kelly versus Hodge here. That's really the 2 matchups that we're looking forward to.
Did we talk about Ryan and Hodge?
Yeah. No.
We didn't.
We didn't.
Well, Derek and I can touch on it right here since it's
let's
go.
do it.
Hold on. I've been silent here. Come on.
Oh, actually, sorry, Smith, you have that as your matchup that
do.
you're most looking forward to. So why don't you take it over?
Yeah. So we'll preface it with that. We were gonna go through, which matchup we're looking forward to the most. So I know Badger and Derek are gonna roast me in my matchup versus Pete. So to just save some time for me to prepare myself, I'll talk about this matchup between Ryan and Hodge. So this is a really interesting one. I like to use Fantasy Pros for projections. I think they're a little bit better than Sleeper, but again, they're just projections, so we'll take it with a grain of salt. But they use expert consensus rankings, so they compile all the experts from the industry. They get their rankings for the week, and they base their projections off that. So with that in mind, there is a 50-50 split on Fantasy Pros. They think it could go either way. It's the closest matchup of the week. Quarterbacks, as good as Matt Stafford was for Hodge, you're never going to bet against Patrick Mahomes unless it's like Kyler Murray or Lamar Jackson. Those are the only, and Josh Allen. I mean, those are the 3 quarterbacks that you could say on a given week you feel comfortable ranking ahead of Patrick Mahomes because of their rushing ability. So clear upgrade advantage for Ryan in that regard. Running backs. As good as Christian McCaffrey is as the running back one, getting 100, almost 100 receiving and rushing yards, I'm going to give the edge to Haj in the running back department because I don't know about Myles Gaskin. I loved his usage in the passing game, but I don't know how sustainable that is. And with Will Fuller coming back and some of those weapons in Miami, like Mike Gesicki really wasn't used, I don't know how much more usage Gaskin will get. Because I do think while Buffalo's a good defense, I don't know if it's as good as New England's is. And so I'm hoping that Tua can have more time to throw the ball and that more of their receivers will get open. So with that in mind, if Myles Gaskin isn't getting that usage in the passing game, I think I have to go with Hodge's duo of Elliott and Jones. I don't think anyone buys that Elliott is washed. I certainly don't. I traded for him in another league. I bought low on him. Aaron Jones, you're not going to bet against Aaron Jones when Elijah Mitchell went up against Detroit and lit them up. Aaron Jones, probably a better running back at this point. We can say that confidently. I would have Aaron Jones as probably like a top 5 back this week. So I think just because they have 2 top 10 options at the position, I would go with Hodge's running backs. Wide receivers, again, I think Tyreek Hill is the wide receiver 1 this week. I think, it's very hard to not put him there. Maybe Devontae Adams against Detroit, I could see that happening, but Tyreek Hill is 1 or 2, give or take. But again, I don't know what to do with Mike Evans. I don't know what to do with him because each and every week it's going to be between him, Godwin, Brown, Gronkowski, O.J. Howard, Gio Bernard, and Leonard Fournette. I mean, there's so many guys you can go through in the passing game. Even against Atlanta, I don't know if I want anything to do with that as a wide receiver 2. Specifically in this matchup, I think Lockett and Woods are the better 1-2 punch, even though I like Hill the most out of the wide receivers we talked about. So again, 1 through 2, I'll go Hodge, but Tyreek is by far the best wide receiver in the game. So then that brings us to tight ends, Gronkowski and Logan Thomas. And, Gronk is interesting because he had the 2 touchdowns, he had the receptions, but I think as O.J. Howard gets more comfortable in this offense, I don't know if the Buccaneers want to spend all these bullets on Gronkowski early in the season. I think they want to keep him fresh for the end of the year, and I think this might be the week where we start to see them get O.J. Howard mixed in a little bit more. Logan Thomas with a backup quarterback is probably going to be someone that goes in the short to intermediate routes, so I actually really like Logan Thomas against the Giants. So I would give the advantage to Logan Thomas. And then the flexes. Deebo Samuel versus Brandon Cooks. I'm going to say that's a wash. I might give a slight advantage to Cooks because I would imagine the Texans are going to be throwing the ball a lot against the Browns. Running back, it's between Clyde Edwards-Helaire and Josh Jacobs. I don't like either of these guys. I think they're both running back 3s. Josh Jacobs fell into the end zone 2 times. I'm not looking at that like a running back 2. He was not used like a running back 2. So I don't know if I like either of these guys. I guess I'd go with Clyde Edwards-Helaire, but I don't want anything to do with either of those guys. So if they have other options they feel comfortable with on the bench, I'd go with those. So in totality, I think, and again, Ryan has more of the high-end talent, and he's got that Mahomes and Hill stack. But in terms of overall depth of the starting lineup, I think Haj is actually better off. So I'm going to go with my gut. I'm going to go with Haj. I know that everyone's probably going Ryan, but I think Haj wins.
Awesome. I mean, I think this is a very close matchup. It's definitely closer than...
It's the best matchup of the week by far.
It will be hopefully
Second
high
best,
scoring. I think it'll be high scoring. It's going to be high scoring again. Any team that has Ryan, like any matchup with Ryan in it, is going to be high scoring. So
yeah, he's got that floor. We talked about it yesterday. He's got that floor of like 75 points.
like 100. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not fair. It's not fair.
And now the next matchup that we really pointed out was Smith versus Pete. So I guess Derek and Badger, you guys chose that one. Derek, do you want to
Yeah,
start off?
let me just prime it. So you have a manager who has talked shit nonstop about another manager, a manager who won the league last year and beat this manager, and so now they face each other again, but after a week of victory lapping for this manager on this manager. Now, was it a fluke week one? Maybe. Maybe his 194 points is the most he'll ever score with this lineup. Actually, genuinely probably should be, because that's a ton of points.
Yes.
But it's a high-powered team. It has some really, really capable players who can score over 30 points at the drop of a hat, players who are at the absolute top in terms of talent at their division in the league. And I just really can't wait for Pete to wipe the floor with Smith and laugh in his face for 6 days straight. That's our primer. I'll let Badger do some more actual analysis, but I just wanted to get that out of the way, because besides a dynamite quarterback matchup, there's some star talent, to be talked about. So I hope you lose, Smith. Not because I want you to lose, but because I want Pete to beat you. It's a very specific circumstance. So just got to be honest.
I just want to say,
I don't know.
Derek,
I don't know. Smith. I don't think you have. I don't think you can say anything, Smith. This is.
I just want to kick Derek out of the chat, because there's something else he didn't kick. But Badger, you're more than welcome to.
Well, I just want to say this too. Derek and Pete made a trade that we've talked about a bunch, and Smith ripped on it. So I think that adds to the value as to why Derek, and he probably wants Darrell Henderson to score 50 points this week too, just to rub it in Smith's face even more.
And I also want to add, Badger, before you do a quick analysis on the teams. Not only did Smith lose to Leo, who he questions that team all the time and shits on that team all the time, he is now playing Pete, who is another team that he questions and shits on, because he doesn't believe their strategy. He doesn't think it works. He thinks they're lucky, and he thinks their team shouldn't be where they are today. So to be versing them back to back, I'm happy. I did not plan the schedule. Besides week one,
I don't make the rules.
So the way week two played out, and it's back to back, I just think it would be funny to watch Smith go 0-4, because I also want to win and I don't want to be last place. So
yeah, no, I actually think Smith could win.
Of course,
I mean, not only can anything happen, but I think it's not like Smith's team is bad. I just really want him to lose.
Sorry, Smith.
Sorry.
Anyways, with that,
I can take it. I'm 0-2. I deserve to be roasted.
Just to piggyback off Derek and Vince's comments, Smith does think these two teams that he's playing week 1 and week 2 have the worst process. And Smith, I just want to ask a question quick. Do you think it's the worst process from a dynasty perspective, or from just a fantasy football manager in a one season perspective?
Dynasty. I mean, you trade Tyson Williams, who lost his job after 2.5 quarters. You trade him for a first-round pick. That's bad process. You trade for a running back in Darrell Henderson, who's going to have a timeshare with a guy who has an arthritic knee in Sony Michel. And then you also trade for a guy who was a healthy scratch, because he absolutely sucks, and Zach Moss, and you trade 2 first-round picks for them, and Xavier Jones, who was cut and put on the practice squad, and Jake Funk, who's a special teamer. yeah, you're gonna have a hard time convincing me that's good process. And look, you can make good in-season decisions and good starting lineup decisions, but in terms of overall dynasty management, I don't know if you can. Is there any world where either of those trades make any like a sense? In a dynasty, from a dynasty standpoint, because
I don't know.
I've told you my whole standpoint is I'd love to win this year, but I know my team's not set to win this year. That's why my team is young, because
or next year.
When I want to compete in 2023, 2024, I'm hoping that's when a lot of these guys can pan out. So people can roast me all they want this year. The truth is, I don't really care. I can take that. It's never been about this year, but for Leo and Pete, it has been. And I think the championship got to Pete's
A lot of
head.
money. It's a lot of money, though. I mean, Vin and I were talking about the other day.
It's a lot of money.
You don't want to
absolutely
throw this money away.
Absolutely.
It's worth a lot.
Yeah. It is. It is worth a lot. But, my thought process is I came in second place. I already am in the positive here. I can afford to sit out a year or two if I need to. And I'm perfectly willing to do that. But I don't know I always preach to depth and the lack thereof with Leo and Pete. They have one or two injuries. They're toast. And they don't have any picks to give up. They don't have any bench players to give up that could be upside.
They're just not first rounders.
Does. Leo does. I'm talking more about his bench, but he did trade one for Tyson Williams. Pete has no picks.
He has a lot of second round picks.
He has a lot of second round picks, first. Which no firsts.
Same thing. All right.
Understandable.
But that's my answer to Badger's question. It's a dynasty issue. It's not an in-game or in-season management issue for me.
So let's move it on.
And that's why I'm looking forward to this matchup the most. Thanks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right. So these next couple of things, we don't really need to go over the teams because we did them already. We're just kind of doing our predictions here. So which 6 teams will make the lead median? I'm just going to go off me and then you guys can follow. I'm doing myself, who I think is going to make it. I think Andy will make another appearance as a top 6. I think Leo also makes an experience, a touching at the top 6, which he's going up against me. So that's once again another tough matchup. Derek, I could see him reaching the top 6. Ryan and Haj definitely, because that matchup is definitely going to go crazy. I don't think Pete will make it after putting up 194 points last week. I feel like he might miss it out by maybe 10 points, maybe 5 points, but I do think he just misses the line of the median. So if you guys have any other differences, you might want to touch on those. If not, just to make it quick here.
I got Parker in the top half. I think he has a good week.
Oh, who are you replacing that with? Who you think out of the list that I wrote? If you see it, I put Leo. I think that's the
Leo. Leo doesn't crack top 6 for me.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'm just subbing Chris in for Leo. I know he was complaining about the rule last week, but I think it's going to benefit him this week.
Yep.
I would hope so, because then he'll stop complaining.
And I have Chris in there because I think his players have just really good matchups up and down the line. Yeah. And then I'm gonna bet on Pete again. I mean, I'm gonna keep betting on Darren Waller.
Yeah,
putting up 30.
You guys should just go on a date already. Jeez.
Yeah, I mean, I like his team.
He's lubricant. He's getting the lubricant out. He's gotta be a kiss up here.
A lot of his team are former pity party members, so
yeah,
I have a soft spot.
So the next question we have is which team will put up the most points. This is, there's 3 of us with the same answer of Andy putting up the most points. It wasn't as common last week as we thought it was Ryan or myself, but after seeing Andy's team perform and the matchups with his players this week, it's really just like he's got to put up at least a 170. I don't think we breach 180, 190 again this week. I think we start to come down into the 160s, 170s for their highest scoring. But for me, I have Andy being the top scorer again. Or not again, but this week.
Yeah, I put Andy for those reasons.
Mm-hmm.
I put Vinny. I just have a hard time believing that team doesn't get to the top again. And if it does, then I don't know anything at that point. None of us know anything at that point.
And I put R. Kelly. We saw what Derek Carr did to Baltimore last week. Mahomes and Tyreek Hill. And then you have Christian McCaffrey, who didn't even score a touchdown last week and led all running backs in points. So don't see how Sam Darnold doesn't throw him the ball and how he doesn't get those rushes again. So I have 176. I think it's very attainable for R. Kelly's team.
So the next question, obviously, we did the most, so now we're going for the least. For me, I have Parker. It's kind of just a random guess at this point. I think everything is just random guesses. But I just don't like Parker's matchups, especially for his running backs. So I just feel as though his team might just be weak because the matchups just slow him down and they don't perform. And that's really my take on his team.
Yeah, I think we're gonna get a dud from Dan this week. I'm taking Danny Boy. You know, I think it's gonna happen a few times at least over the course of the season. So I don't think it's a terrible idea to pick him every week. But on top of that, I think his matchups too are pretty poor. And then on top of that, he's starting Teddy Bridgewater and Mark Ingram. So damn.
Wow.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I'm going with Leo, and this isn't me trying to spite.
I was wrong about Teddy Bridgewater. Just have to call myself out. He's going to start Justin Herbert.
Yeah. I this isn't me trying to act in spite or revenge against Leo. I just don't really like the matchups that a lot of his players have. I know we love Corey Davis, but it is against New England. Robbie Anderson against New Orleans. I don't want anything to do with that. Jarvis Landry is just like a really boring option at this point. I mean, maybe he puts up 15 points. That's possible. But a Calvin Ridley against the Buccaneers when the Buccaneers know that the Falcons will be passing because they're down by 5 touchdowns, like I want nothing to do with it. And then Tyson Williams, get out of here with that. David Montgomery had the game of his life against the Rams and was catching passes and doing stuff that he had never done. So is it an anomaly? I don't know. It could just be a thing that he does now, but I'm not going to bet on that. So I love Kyler, but I think there's enough bust potential with this team for this week at least. I'm not saying it this season, but this week I don't like a lot of the matchups that his players have.
People keep sleeping on David Montgomery, man.
He was.
I want to believe.
He was good last year, and I was kind of sad that I gave him up, but I got Kamara, so I don't know.
Probably sent like 7 trade offers for him in the offseason.
You can't get him. He's his RB1.
He's locked up.
Yep.
Locked up.
With our final question that we're going to go over, and then we're kind of wrap it up with just other, like, maybe a hot take real quick, but nothing too crazy, just to keep this under in our time frame. But the last one is which player on our own team will outperform their projections, which also helps you guys, because if you do own these guys, then it's kind of our lock of the week, almost, you can call it. So for me, Sleeper is projecting Derrick Henry to have 15.6 points. I feel that is very low for Derrick Henry. I know he put up 10 points.
I know he put up 10 points.
I know he put up 10 points the first game. But he's playing Seattle. I think he can do a lot more with 17 attempts if he gets 17 attempts again. And I think he catches at least another 2 receptions and scores a touchdown. So I can see him breaking 18 to 20, and I hope that actually comes true. So that's my kind of lock of the week for a projection type player, like over.
Yeah, I'll go next. Hit mine pretty much spot on last week, so with Adam Thielen. So hoping to carry that over here. Rookie that I'm starting, Javonte Williams. I think he's going to outproduce. He's only projected 10 points. think that he's going to get this number. He had only one catch last week for -4 yards. Expect him to be worked in a bit more. Maybe he sees additional targets with Judy being out as well, but I don't see this Houston defense stopping him.
I agree. I mean, what do you? Because last week you did say Adam Thielen for over 30. So what do you like? Don't do too much of a wide range here, but like try to keep the streak on. What are you feeling?
I'm gonna say Williams gets a touchdown, so I'm gonna say he's gonna have 18 points this week.
18 points. So 8 points over projections. Okay. I like it.
Thielen was much easier to project for me, honestly, last week. I just had that feeling.
Just got to do a quick correction, Badger. The Jacksonville defense.
Jacksonville. Did I say Houston? I meant Jacksonville.
Yeah, and the only reason I noticed is because my guy this week is Baker Mayfield. He played well last week, but it didn't really show up on the fantasy scoreboard. No. However, against Houston with they play with 0 people on defense, I think. I think he's going to have a game and a half. That play action is bound to work once or twice against, a crappy defense that literally starts 0 people. If they get up early, this play, might not work unless Baker was the one scoring the actual NFL points on the game day scoreboard between the two teams. Because Chubb will just, take carries the second half, and Hunt will take carries the second half, and they won't throw the ball. But, you could still be looking at a few pop plays off play action in the second half, and maybe even a long touchdown. They have more weapons than they did last year, and by that I mean Anthony Schwartz is actually looking pretty solid and kind of a good deep ball threat. So I definitely see some optimism in the play action big play game. So I'm going to say Baker throws 2 touchdowns, has a good amount of rushing yards, maybe getting him to 15 or so points just off of that, and then has, over 300 passing yards, just an all-around great game, getting him to probably like 25 points or so.
Nice. Smith?
Chase Claypool for me. He's on a short list with Will Fuller and some other guys that are the most bipolar players in football. I was really encouraged, though, last week by Claypool because he had 10 fantasy points, even though he had very limited touches. Another thing I was very encouraged by, percentage of routes run in week 1 was much higher than his season average for 2020. So I do think they have more trust in him. Why wouldn't they? He's a physical specimen. He's 6'4". He's extremely fast, very explosive. And against a very bad secondary in Las Vegas, I think he's going to I really think he could put up a very long touchdown. So that's a little bit of a hot take. So I think Claypool, as kind of a hot take guy who could outperform his performance, I think he could be 20-point potential this week, if he breaks off a big play, which we all know he's more than capable of doing.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to a lot of teams and a lot of matchups this week, obviously every single week. Quick note, if you do have a Washington Redskin or a Giants player this week starting on your team, do not put them in your flex. And just trust it.
Yes.
Just trust it. Don't put them in your flex. Don't leave them in your flex. Take them out. Put them in the starting lineup because you never want to have someone lock up a flex play, especially on a Thursday. And injuries can happen any day of the week. So just remember that. And to quickly go over our predictions, I mean, we could do that off stream, and we're going to tweet that actually to everyone out. I'm going to link the Twitter to, I guess, our Twitch, and then also have the links everywhere, just so you guys can easily access it. But it is PnC Dynasty for the Twitter. And then we'll do our predictions. We'll do what teams we think are going to win in our league. And then, once again, if you guys have questions about who to start in your lineup or any advice on trades and whatnot, we are here to help. Anything that's Dynasty, redraft, maybe auction. I guess auction doesn't really matter now, but Fab, we can help. But yeah,
are there any hot takes? I think we had a few in the wrap-up section, right?
I'm.
Go ahead.
Here we go again.
I'm gonna go over my call.
No, I didn't even see this one.
No.
He's just gonna keep saying this until
It's
it
a
actually
shameless.
happens.
It's a shameless plug.
No. Seriously, guys, I'm not gonna keep saying this till it happens. But I did, some analysis on this divisional matchup. We know divisional matchups are different in the NFL than any given, cross conference or cross division matchup.
Mm-hmm.
The teams know each other. Granted, Arthur Smith is a new coach. In fact, that actually may bode well just in terms of surprise in the scheme. But, in both weeks where Atlanta played Tampa Bay, regardless of that good defense, Matt Ryan had over 30 points in both of those games. And it was in week 15 and 17 of the regular season where not only was Tampa Bay starting to crank and on a win streak, I believe, but they were not sitting any players, and they were really at sort of almost, definitely not but almost the the peak of their performance last year. So I think Matt Ryan is going to get the ball to Kyle Pitts, a bunch. I think he's going to target him, over 10 times, leading to, something like 7 receptions. And, besides Matt Ryan's performance historically against Tampa Bay last year, Hayden Hurst had 15 points in both of those matchups as well. So they have a really stout front seven, but they don't have those coverage linebackers besides maybe Shaq Barrett. Levante David's more of a run stuffer. And I think honestly this could be hopeful, but I think Kyle Pitts himself has the intestinal fortitude to go in and wreck against the top team in the league. And
best of luck.
Yeah, best of
Devin
luck.
White.
Whenever you have to talk
absolutely.
about internal fortitude, I know it's a bad
intestinal.
Intestinal.
The man is not going to be nervous going into Tampa Bay.
When you have to talk about intestinal fortitude, that's always a bad sign.
He is a stud that doesn't have shaky hands. So he's going over his projected points total. He's getting at least 16 points. I don't know how he's getting there, but he's doing it.
Wow.
He's not getting there. Atlanta has to, best of luck, man.
Yeah, good luck, buddy.
BOL. My hot take, I'm going to be quick. I'm going to say it right now. It's not even a player hot take. It's more of a matchup hot take in the NFL. I think the Dallas Cowboys versus the Chargers is going to be the highest scoring combined points.
That is not a hot take. Get out of here.
I'm saying it literally is going to be the highest scoring combined points this week in the NFL.
That's not a hot take. Come on.
Why is that not a hot take?
Because everyone's saying that their total points is going to be the highest in the league. I think Vegas actually. I don't
Are
know.
they really? Because I literally am just coming off a limb. And
what are the matchup point totals there, Badger? I thought last I saw that was the highest.
55.5. They are the highest.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't know that. So I guess redo hot take then. I don't know.
Here, I'll give mine.
Jameis Winston's a top 5 quarterback once again. How about that? There's mine.
Okay. I like it. How about this? Mike Williams, wide receiver 1 overall. Let's go. Woo!
The wide receiver
Wow.
one.
The wide receiver 1. You heard it here.
Wow.
It's the Dallas secondary.
Didn't you just say that Tyreek Hill is going to be the wide receiver 1 when going over?
I said
the
he should be
matchup?
ranked as such.
I think you said he will do it again.
Well, that's my hot take. It's not supposed to be my only take. It's not supposed to be my take.
I know. I got
Come
you.
on, get out of here.
All right. I mean, I like it. I don't play Andy, so I don't care. It's a plus. I can see it. It could happen. I think
It's got Justin
That's a
Herbert.
hot take.
I mean,
It is a hot take.
It is a hot take. It's a very hot take. Badger, hit us with it.
I'm going back to the well. Tom Brady, QB1.
Oh boy.
Tom Brady QB1. See, I was gonna say Aaron Rodgers QB1 because if he doesn't, then he should die, and not die, but like he should retire.
Well, I mean, we saw what Jalen Hurts did, and I mean, he got some done on the ground, but Tom Brady with all those weapons against the Falcons, come on now.
It's gonna be.
Oh, yeah.
It's
It's almost as if Matt Ryan will be throwing the ball up and down the field, trying to catch up with them. It's almost as if they're just going to.
I mean, you could think that. You could
no.
think that. You could think that.
That's what.
Yeah,
No.
BOL. So we do to final this off. We do have a question from Chris here in our YouTube. He says, "Thanks for taking my call, guys. Chase Edmonds or Deebo Samuel in my flex this week." So, I mean, it's one of those things where you don't want to play either of them, but I feel like I'm going
I don't know about
with
that.
Deebo.
I'm going with Edmonds.
Because who are the 49ers playing? I gotta check this real quick before I.
Eagles.
They're playing the Eagles.
I'm going with Chase Edmonds as well. Minnesota looked god awful. We saw what Joe Mixon did against them. I mean, obviously Chase Edmonds isn't as good of a rusher as Joe Mixon, but I still think that he has the capability to outperform his projections this weekend. Do better than Deebo Samuel.
Yeah.
Look, as much crap as we talk about Brandon Ayuk, he could very well just come back this week. Like, that's not
Get out of here.
impossible. It's not impossible. So,
But I don't think even if he comes back, he's not going to just magically be the wide receiver 1.
it's Kyle Shanahan. I mean, did we see Brandon Ayuk not get a single target? Did we predict that? No.
Yeah, I mean,
So,
we did.
I mean,
We did say he was going to be on the kick return only. So we also personally didn't say that, but
Okay.
Badger found the guy, discussed with him, and that was the take. So I mean, we had it. We
I mean,
saw
the
it
guy came back and said that the Roto World like misinterpreted his post. So it's not. Let's not pretend that he actually said.
But Roto World
regardless,
correctly interpreted the post because they were right.
they were interpreting the
They-
guy
they
who said
were
that he
correct.
wasn't. Oh my god,
They
that
were
he
correct.
wasn't only the punch. Whatever. My point is that we don't know what happens in San Francisco on a given week. I think even if Ayuk is not there, I think it's George Kittle.
All right, I mean,
Just my
What's the guy's name that's in front of Ayuk? We talked about it.
Trent Sherfield.
Yeah.
Sherfield.
I mean,
Just
even
pick him
Jimmy
up.
G said he likes him more. See that SI article today I sent you?
Then Ayuk, yeah. See, that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't know. I think
I
think both Chase
You know,
Edmonds
I-
and Deebo could get.
Debu.
I call him Deebo.
Debu.
He's a little boo boo. He's a little Deebo. I'm gonna call him that for now on. I think they can. I
boy.
think they see 15 points, 13 points.
I'm taking Chase Edmonds. He rushed for 100 yards last
Yeah.
week. Don't see why he can't do that again, and he'll probably get some more targets as well.
Me Chase freaking Edmonds. He's the discount Austin Eckler. Let's go.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's the end. Do we have any final notes before we let everyone go into Thursday night and week 2 of their seasons? I mean, I think just good luck. Best of luck.
Best of luck.
BOL.
Best of luck,
to
Smith.
all.
It's gonna be rough.
BOL to all. Once
Keep
again,
talking, buddy.
Once again, we do have a Twitter, so if you have questions, just reach out and we will be there to answer them.
Start your kickers, folks. Start your kickers.
That is facts. Do not bench any of your players. Start a legal lineup.
Yes.
There's no point.
He left.
There's no point to kick away your team. Pun intended.
Saving that one.
All right. Well, thanks for everyone tuning in. That was episode 10 of the PnC Dynasty podcast. We'll see you all next week on Tuesday when we kind of recap on the week of the NFL and our matchups for week 2. And once again, Twitter, PnC_Dynasty. We will be answering any questions and posting our comments and concerns throughout the week. So see you guys